Hello and welcome to episode 25 of Pacific Horseplayers right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Noah Meagher, joined by the boys, of course. This week's episode is not PHP, it's GHG. That stands for Gray Hoodie Gang. But the boys are all here. Jackson's here, Ryan's here. Looking forward to a great show. We're going to be covering Santa Anita Late Pick 5, actually, which is obviously highlighted by the Santa Anita Derby. Big day at Santa Anita, of course, on Saturday. So we're going to be getting into that shortly. Before we do that, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Lots of Power Pick tip sheet information that has been sent out to people over email and let know last week about Keeneland Power Picks, Team HHH, all that good stuff. You can see right here. Here's the banner for that. Brand new Team HHH Power Picks also available now. So if you haven't gotten those, make sure you go and purchase those. And then you can do that, purchase all our Power Picks, and find out more about us at our website, hhhracingpodcast.com. Before we bring on our guest, let's go to the boys. Ryan, it sounds like you did a little cardio before the show. Jackson was stuffing his face with a sandwich. What's going on?
Oh, man. Yeah, my life's a mess. I woke up from a nap, took a nice shower. I was ready to, hop in here all refreshed. I walk into this back room, and my cat's not in here. So he snuck out through – we have those like those windows that open kind of diagonally in little slits. And I think he slipped through one of those, and he was running around our back and front yard. He didn't go too far because he was scared shitless. But, yeah, so got some new scratches on my arm, hit a cactus in my side yard, which was really cool. So we're starting the show off strong. But, hey, Santa Anita Late Pick 5, hopefully there's less chaos in that sequence than there was in the last 5 minutes of my life.
That's fantastic. Jackson, you got the Keeneland hat on. Looks like you're ready for Keeneland, as am I, my friend.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm hoping the weather cooperates a little more than it appears it's going to this weekend. But, the rest of the meet, it doesn't matter. They're going to be big, full fields the whole meet. Looking forward to it. A lot of good racing. Yeah,
the weather does not look promising in the Lexington area, so I would, pay attention to that if you haven't already seen all of the stuff about it. So, but let's see who we got in the chat. Katie's here, of course. She was here at does that say 12:08 p.m.? Holy crap, Katie!
Wow,
that's almost 9 hours before we started the show.
Love it.
She was ready.
That is dedication.
Jim was here right at 9. He said, "Good evening, all. Looking forward to great information from all, including our guests, who we will bring on shortly." And then we've got the boss. He says, "Thanks for joining us, everyone. No rain in SoCal. Of course, this weekend, not like Keeneland." And then our guest will be with us on Great Race Plays also on Thursday. So that's fantastic. Make sure you go check that out Thursday. I can't remember what time that is. There's a lot of stuff to remember on the show. But go check that out. Marco Lou is here. There are more hosts than there will be horses in the Santa Anita Derby.
That's a good one.
That's pretty close, Marco. That's pretty good to give that to you. Jim is asking Jackson, are you getting a toast tonight?
No, not tonight. I did have a sandwich, though. That kind of counts.
We've got a chat from, I don't believe I've ever seen this name, Dr. Don't Pass One. I believe his name is probably Jimmy P. What's up, brother? Capping Table Elite on Saturdays. Everyone's knows that. Thanks for joining the show.
Oh, yeah.
Great to see him. But let's go ahead and get right into it. Before we talk about the Late Pick 5, we've got a special guest to join us tonight. I had the pleasure of meeting him for the first time at the NHC a couple weeks ago. And I had listened to him on various platforms before then. But let's bring him on. He is from the Daily Racing Forum, and his name is Gino Buccola. What's going on, my friend? Oh, Gino, you're muted.
It's funny. It's almost like I've never done one of these before, right? I was gonna say, I remember my first beer. That's how I feel right now. It was a pleasure getting to meet the three of you guys out at NHC. I had different conversations with you guys, with Jackson, with Ryan, and with Noah. So yeah, ready to rock and roll. We can be nice and cordial now, but it's always important if I give you some winners, because if not, that's really all that's going to matter at the end of the show. So we'll have some fun to start, but most importantly, we'll see if we can lead everybody in the right direction a couple times.
Yeah, hopefully we can do that for the people. Great to have you on. For the people that are not familiar with Gino, I know Gino because I listen to a radio show, SoCal area. It's called Thoroughbred. What's
Thoroughbred LA? Yeah.
Yeah.
330.
It's on AM 830. Jackson's probably familiar with that. But listen to him growing up. Knew he was on there, and I always loved his picks. Of course, he gives out great stuff. So that's how I knew him. But Gino, not a lot of people are familiar with you. Nobody is really at the top of the Gino Buccola fan club like I am. Why don't you go ahead and tell us your origin story and how you got to where you are?
Yeah, for me, it was fun. My mom and dad actually met each other at Santa Anita. So we'll be talking about Santa Anita this weekend. My mom used to sell the digests out in front. So when she was 17 years old, she was a senior in high school. She only had one class that she had, one period of school. So she'd go there and she'd start work at 10 a.m. at the track at Santa Anita. And my dad is a gambler, but he's a general contractor. So his schedule is perfect for a horse racing schedule because he works early in the morning. He's done by like 1 or 2, and then it's perfect time to go right into the track. So my dad was going to Santa Anita every day, flirting with my mom, asking her out on a date, and she was like turning him down most of the time. But there was one day that my dad and my grandpa were waiting for a horse that they had owned to run back. They knew the horse was going to run big. So my dad went up and bet 50 to win on the horse and gave my mom the win ticket. And he said, this horse is going to win today, and you're going to come out on a date with me after it does. And the horse ended up winning, and the ticket was worth a couple grand for my mom. The horse was like 30 to 1. Wow. Since, it was back in the day when you don't have great information and work reports, and that kind of stuff. So lucky that worked out for my dad, because otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here right now talking races with you guys. So it was in my blood. And then for me, I actually went to high school. I grew up. I went to LaSalle High School. I grew up in Temple City, which is a few minutes away from Santa Anita. So I was 5 minutes away from the racetrack my whole life. I was at high school, off-campus lunch. We're driving down to Santa Anita, like sneaking in and making some bets. When I was in high school, my winter formal, my senior year, I was in charge of finding the venue. We had it at the Front Runner at Santa Anita. That's where we had our high school dance when I was a senior. So Friday night, I was walking down playing Los Alamitos tickets, and my date was up there like, where'd you go? I'll be back in a few minutes. Walk down, make a few bets, pop on back up. So I was always involved in racing. And then I got very lucky. I had a friend who knew a friend. And one day I went and they gave me a tour of TVG, and I was talking to some of the people there, and they offered me a job as a producer's assistant, like right there that day. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I get to work in racing and watch these people that I've been watching on TVG. Matt Carruthers and Todd Schrupp are like huge celebrities for me. I've been watching them for years. And so I worked at TVG for about 5 years, and then left TVG, still kind of young, kind of wanted to cover a couple other sports too. So I got the chance to do that over the last few years, but just a couple months ago, locked in like full-time with Daily Racing Form now. So a lot of content over there, heading up their social media, doing a lot of videos. So it's been a fun journey, but yeah, now we're where we've always wanted to be with the DRF and getting to really, handicap the races and help everybody out there.
No, that's a fantastic story. It's one of a kind.
Yeah,
sure. That's
prom
awesome.
story or form or whatever. I can't remember what it was. That's awesome. That's just
great.
phenomenal. Phenomenal.
That's fantastic.
Oh yeah. So
let's go ahead and get into the pick 5. I'll get the Echo Base up on the screen for us. There we go. First leg of the pick 5 starts with race 8. It's 3:30 local. We've got a field of 13 as we got a group of maiden special weights going 6 furlongs on the main track. Again, field of 13. Morning lines are not out this week. Last week, I believe they were. This week, they're not. So we will have to overcome that little bit of obstacle. Gino, I made quite the host fail. I forgot to mention that how this show works is that we give out top 3 selections.
Sure.
You did everything you were asked for. You gave me a pick 5 ticket, and we're covering the late pick 5, so that's fantastic. So of the horses that you have in your ticket, do you have a preference of the first 3 that I can write down?
Yep, I got them in order. I go 6, 7, 2.
Okay.
For me. Then
we'll start with this race, and then I'll just go to you because you are a guest, of course. So
perfect.
6, 7, 2 to start us off, correct?
Yeah, and I kind of grouped in this particular race. I think for a lot of people, it will probably be a spread out race, just the way that the sequence is, right? Probably people are going to be shortening up a little bit in the Santa Anita Derby race. So I kind of had 3 groupings of horses in here that I want to use in my tickets in some way, shape, or form. I thought the 2 horses to beat were Western Freedom and Beer Buzz. They're the kind of horses we kind of know ran a great race in their debut races. We know that if they were to come back with that same type of effort, it's pretty good. So both of them I want in the mix. Then I have two kind of fun price horses. I had mentioned the 6, Keithing Thunder. I think that horse's debut was a pretty good one. So the number 6 debuted at Los Al on December the 14th. He was a step slow, and he was in a little bit tight. He checked. He kind of had to back up to last of 8. It was about 8 lengths off, and he ran in spots. There were a couple times through the race where he started traveling well. He made a little move, then he was green. I think there's a little more from him from that debut race that we could build off of. So he, to me, was an interesting price horse that I don't think a lot of people will gravitate towards immediately. I mean, he was 30-1 in his debut at Los Al. So I figure he'll be a very solid price horse. The other one that wasn't in my top 3, but he's kind of a fun pick 5 horse and a wild card, would be the 4, Silver I Am. And I love that you got the DRF PPs up here. And what's so great about like what you're looking at with Formulator, like when you click on Silver I Am and you click on the dam and you see Silver Swallow was a dam who won on the dirt and was multiple graded stakes place on the dirt. So right off the bat, you see this is a horse who, should be fine on the dirt. Also as a first-time gelding. So just something I think Silver I Am, bred for the dirt, could be fine on the surface switch, making the second starts, never really had much of a shot after a slow start in the debut. And then, like they say, the ultimate equipment change when you get the first-time gelding there. So I had the 2 that I think are the horses to beat with Western Freedom, with Keithing Thunder. I thought both the 4, Silver I Am, along with the top selection, the 4, Silver I Am and Keithing Thunder, those are my kind of price horses. Western Freedom, Beer Buzz, those are the horses to beat. And then, guys, I don't know about you, Noah. I thought the 2 wild cards were like the outside 2. The horses that are moving from the grass back to the dirt. I thought both Gemini, Buzz, and Horizon Wildcat, we haven't seen them on the dirt. We've only seen them on the grass. They're lightly raced. Those efforts weren't bad. Wouldn't be shocked to see either one of them improve, but it's a tough draw, tough post. Like that's why I kind of have them in that next tier of, if you wanted to go a little bit deeper, I could see using them, and I wouldn't talk anyone off of them. So what about for you, Noah? Who are some of the horses that were on your radar here?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it's a wide open race, as you can kind of see by the picks down at the bottom of the screen. I'll actually go to Ryan and Jackson first because they've both got the 10.
Nice.
I believe Ryan, if I remember correctly, you're a big fan of the 10, so I'll go with you. One of the horses Gino mentioned that was going from turf to dirt. English is hard. And Route to Sprint as well. Mike Pipey, trainee, and Kimura with the mount.
Yeah, odd stat that he's kind of done this a lot for these maiden races, going route to sprint, going dirt to turf. He's 4 for 12, so that's a nice 33%. So something he, does more often than not, I guess. But yeah, I like this effort, sprinting 2 and 3 back. Mike Pipey, obviously not really known for the debut runners and didn't have a ton of pace, so really improved in the second time start. Then they stretched him out to long on turf. Maybe it's not really what he wants to do, so they're cutting him back. They throw him on dirt, and Kazushi Kimura aboard. So you're going to get a good ride. He should be in a good spot. I'm projecting maybe stalking a little bit off the pace. I think there is a decent amount of speed in here. And with that turf kind of turn of foot, I think that's going to set it up nicely for Fix It Quick.
No, I agree. Jackson, I'd say the one worry for me is it looks like there's maybe a missed work between the 16th and the 30th of March, but I will be using him on tickets.
Yeah, that could be a concern, but he did come back and work last week, so at least he's going the right way now. I think he'll be able to handle the dirt. I watched the workout it was back in November, but he was going with Pratchett, who we saw run back last weekend. I believe he was second as a big favor, but that's an older horse that has won before, so he was going just as well as him. Again, that was a while ago, but I think he'll handle the dirt. He also sold for $200,000 based on a workout over the dirt. So, you got to be able to think he can handle it. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. Basically paired up the buyer tops in this spot. And I think he's going to get that good second flight trip. There's a lot of speed in this 13-horse field. So I think it should set up for him.
Yeah, it should set up for quite a few. I'm kind of chalking out, I think, as Gino said, he's spot on. This is one of the horses, if not the horse to beat, with the 7 Beer Buzz. Blinkers on for the second start. Roman Gratis, I believe, is a horse for Luis Mendez. And I think he's the one where he won a race, then got DQ'd, and then won again. Did you say for no reason?
Yeah, there was no reason.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but
There was no reason.
He's a two-time winner and just kind of got on the lead. I think it was like 4-5 in that field. But I thought Beer Buzz, ran just honestly second time of his career. And then the 71, I think, is, if it's close to a buyer top, if not the buyer top, like Gino said, I think he's probably the horse to beat. So I've got him on top. Jackson, you've got him second. Gino, obviously, you talked about it. You like him. Let's mention one more. Let's go to the 3, who I believe is Outworker. Jackson, I'll throw it back to you. Yak Team, third-time starter. Fresu sticks aboard. Good effort on debut. The last one was kind of scratching my head a little bit because it wasn't great. Fourth in the same race that Beer Buzz was second, but another one that I think you could consider in this wide open field.
Yeah, I agree. He kind of went in the wrong direction last time, and maybe he's just a horse that wants to come from way out of it because he ran quite well in the debut when he got that trip. The horses from the Yak Team barn, they typically improve with racing. Hasn't always been the case as of late as he's starting to get some better stock, but historically he's always gotten better with racing. So I think third time out, we're going to see a best effort. It is encouraging that Fresu does stick here after the so-called poor effort at a short price, but I think he's one that might be forgotten a little bit on the board in this big wide open field. So I do want to use him at as an off the pace type.
Gino, I'll give you the last word. Anything to add on the number 3 Worker? Did you give him a look or anything else in this big field?
Yeah, he's going to be happy to get away from Roman Gratis, who you said as a 2-time winning maiden, right? who beat him both of those starts. So that's what's really fun about handicapping this race and what makes it really challenging for a kickoff leg of the pick 5 is I do think there is that kind of top tier of horses. You got to figure out what you want to do with, but of all the horses that we mentioned, like none of them feel like they are completely dismissed. None of them feel like horses you can't use. From the 3 Outworker, the 4 was a price. We talked about the 6. We got into Fix It Quick. And then the horses to the outside, like all of them are honest prices. You got to take a little bit of a stand here because you're probably not going to go all, or you're not going to go probably 9 deep of the 13. But if you're going to pick your 3 or 4 that you maybe want to use in this leg and move on, I think you want to throw in at least a couple prices because a lot of these horses can step forward. And Ryan Jackson gave you a couple, and maybe I gave you 1 or 2 with the 4 and the 6.
No, I think that's a great way to put it. We'll go ahead and move on to the second leg. But I'm going 7-2-12. Ryan's 10-12-3. Jackson's 10-7-3. And Gino is 6-7-2 in a wide open race to kick off the pick 5. Second leg is race 9. I'll get it up on the screen now. Allowance 6.5 on the downhill turf course. Another wide open field of 12 with 1 also eligible in the 13 win ribbon. Morning line favoritism could go a number of different ways. Another difficult race that we're going to be talking about. Gino, this is another one where this is my apologies. I know you're all over the 10 in here, but do you have
10-1-8
choice? 10-1-8. Okay, cool.
Yep. And so I generally play like multiple tickets too when I'm playing, so even if there was a situation where I single, I'll usually come back on a different ticket and maybe play a couple others. So I always have them kind of stacked in order of my preference of horses, depending on how deep you want to go. Okay.
We'll go ahead and go back to you because you've got the single, of course.
Yep.
I'm going to who's the
Private Gem.
Private Gem. Thank you, Ryan. I'm quite struggling right now.
Come on, Noah.
Yeah, this is not going well.
We're all good. We're good.
We'll go back to you. This is your single, so you got to. I mean, obviously Ryan's convinced. You don't need to convince him, but you got to convince this other 2. What's up with the 10 Private Gem?
I like horses like this that just make sense, where at all of their races you can look at and you can say, okay, what happened? Oh, okay. Horse wins his debut. Really nice effort. Comes back on November the 3rd on a really quick turnaround. This is back in 2023. He runs really well that day. He finishes second in a stakes race in the Golden State Juvenile. And then the horse is off from November of 2023 to February of 2025. So we're going on a year and a half of this horse being away. And in his first start back, he wins and he improves a bunch on the buyer scale. What I like about that is when you come off of a long layoff and you run a big race like that, it probably takes a lot out of you. It's probably a difficult race. So they gave him plenty of time to recover now. He's going to have 6 weeks by the time we run this race on Saturday. Private Gem last raced on February the 21st. So you see that he comes back on March the 8th. They gave him a couple weeks before he even came back to work. He also was proven at 6.5. Now, it wasn't down the hill, but it was the 6.5 furlong distance, which can sometimes be a little tricky. He has speed, but he can absolutely sit off. Like, I just think he's going to improve off of that effort. And I think he has a ceiling higher than most of this field in here. I think they've kind of been running sort of similar races, or you kind of know who they are. This horse was out of sight, out of mind for a year and a half. He might have a nice step forward in here. So, one of the races, you got to kind of pick and choose where you're going to take a stand here. I'll take a stand and single this one.
Ryan, obviously you've got him on top. Are you in the single camp, or will you be using others?
Most likely in the single camp. I think if I'm playing the turf pick 3, which I believe begins this leg, I think I would want to single this horse. The more and more I look at him. But yeah, everything Gino said and more. They ran this horse back versus Open Company off of an 18-month layoff there. They bring him right back in stakes competition versus state bred runners. Came back in such a strong way for Glad off the bench, which he's really strong with. And as strong as he is, he's even better second off these long layoffs. He's hitting at 41% with the second off the over 180-day layoffs. So yeah, I mean, this horse makes a ton of sense in here. I might spread a little bit in like a pick 5, but I think if I played the turf pick 3, I'm probably going to single this horse and just move on.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. I just realized that we are 2v2 here, 2 with the 7 and 2 with the 10. The two boys that are at the top of the screen are going with the 7 Smiling Beast. Jackson, what'd you like about this lightly raced 5-year-old?
Yeah, lightly raced. Obviously, he's had his issues. I felt there was a lot of speed in this race, and I know this horse was on the lead last time, but that just kind of felt like it was by default. It was a 4-horse field. It was against Big City Lights, who would be 1-9 in this spot, and I don't want to be too harsh for that performance. He was just in over his head. He's back in where he belongs. We saw he's already got to win at this level when he won at Del Mar in the fall. That was a tough field that day. I do remember that race. It was quite competitive. I like that he got the job done in there. And then in the debut, he came from dead last. I think that's kind of more likely the trip he's going to get on Saturday. I think there's a lot of speed, especially drawn to his outside. You have a lot of horses like Piper's Causeway, where's Give Me the Loot, or Where's the Loot? Can't think. Where's the Loot? Even Private Gem is quick too. Idaho Once. All these horses to the outside are going to be pretty quick. So I think you're going to be seeing a hold-up ride from Noah's favorite turf jockey in the world, Armando. I think he'll be coming from off the pace in this spot. Turf is bit of a question mark, but most of these Cowbreds, they kind of are able to do a little bit of everything. So I don't want to be too, I don't want to hold that against him. He hasn't tried the turf before. And I do think he's going to be the right kind of price in here. And he's run some fast races. So if he can translate his form over to the turf course, I think he can be pretty competitive in here.
No, I think you're exactly right with the surfaces. He's got Candy right on the dam side, and it feels like the Smiling Tigers can kind of do either or. You talk about the Cowbreds. I think you're spot on with that. His 2 races, first out and second out, were really good. And then, like you said, he just kind of threw him to the wolves. Big City Lights would be a heavy favorite in here. And then, of course, Gino, these 2 like to clown me because I'm a big Armando Ayuso guy. I think he's a fantastic guy on the turf. So I use him at every chance that I can.
We all have them. We all have those that our go-tos, right? So I'll know that if Ayuso is ever winning on a big price, you've probably got him somewhere, right?
I should, right? And if I don't,
well,
you would think.
So, right?
Yeah, I should, but if I don't, then
then we'll clown you.
Yeah,
then we can clown. Okay.
Then it's that's exactly right. Let's go to the 4, Uncle Chili, because we've got Thomas Bose in the chat. He mentions he really likes number 4 in this one. Ran a good race last time and is looking to make some money here. Ryan, you've got this 4-year-old in 3rd. I've got him in the mix. The other 2 don't, so I'll go to you. I thought his turf race was really good last time. And then if he can match that, maybe even improve a little bit, he could be right with this group.
Exactly. And, Private Gem's going to probably be more forward, be on the lead. Uncle Chili is going to be coming from off of it. So one I would definitely use if I'm spreading, just so I can kind of cover both ends of the race shape there. But yeah, this one's progressed really nicely. That last effort, 3rd off the layoff, first time on turf, really jumped up on the speed figure, really ran a nice race, just finishing, 2nd behind a decent horse and double jab. Comes back out here, Juan sticks aboard. So I'm looking for this one to come flying late. And if Private Gem doesn't hold on, this is probably the one I'm going to take to pick up the pieces.
No, I think you're exactly right. Let's go one to the outside with the 7-year-old Brazeley. That's the 5. You've got him in 2nd, Jackson. We'll have you talk about the 5. Then we'll throw it to you with the 1 Gino, maybe a couple others, and then we'll go ahead and move on to Jackson. We like about the 5.
Yeah, just another horse going to be coming from off the pace. And I'd like to cut back for this horse. I think a lot of those mile races he was running, he just wasn't quite seeing them out all the way, especially that one in November where he got the lead, made the first move, and just got gunned down late by Takes 3, who's pretty solid. And then the race in January as well is kind of the same thing. It was going 9 furlongs, but he just seems like a horse where the cutback is going to do him really good. I'd like that getting a jockey upgrade to Tiago Pereira. I think he'll be much better suited for that. And that last race he's coming out of is kind of leaps off the page a little bit. I know it came on the dirt, but I mean, boy, those are way better horses than he's facing in here. And even in that spot, he kind of did the same thing where he lagged way back there going a mile, made this big move, and just didn't quite sustain that move late. So I think the cutback is going to be the key here for this horse, hoping he gets the kind of pace he's going to need, and he'll be coming late at probably a pretty big price for these connections.
Yeah, Jackson, just to kind of compliment what you're talking about too. Well, I'll notice a lot of times when people might look at Brazenly and see like 0 for 8 on the turf too, and then just move past a horse like that. Right. But when you dive in and you look that he has some of the races that are just as good on turf, he just hasn't won. Like speed figure wise, he's just as competitive. And those are the types of horses that need to find the tricky type of distance, like the downhill races. Because sometimes, like you were saying, going a little longer, they kind of flatten out. Too short is too short for them. It's like a process of like trial and error, figuring out, oh, you know what, 6.5 fits. So I would absolutely throw that horse in if you're spreading around.
And I think a lot of people, to add on to that, will just kind of see that he's been that N1X condition for so many races that they're just like, I'm not going to put my money towards him if he can't get through that. But you kind of have to find that niche. You get these horses that.
And are they doing something different, right? Is something going to be different than what they've been doing over and over? Yeah, they're cutting back now. And they're going to a unique style turf course. So that to me is the key, right? If the same horse is getting beat over and over and over at the same level, it's hard to make an excuse for them if there's not one to be made. This horse, we can see why there could be some improvement doing something differently.
Oh, that's exactly right. A good way to put it there. Ryan, you got some?
Yeah, no, I agree with Gino, and I love these mile horses when they cut back to the 6.5. If they're struggling here at that level, it really just brings them into the race. Going down the hill, it kind of forces them to be in a good spot, and it's, as he said, it's something new that they're doing. So could expect a change. And this is a horse that likes to be in the mix. He has 14 in the money finishes from, I believe it's 29 lifetime starts. So, I mean, that's pretty good. About half the time in the money. So, certainly a reason this one could step up and find himself in the winner's circle.
Yeah, because most horses, like when you start or when an owner has a horse or a trainer has a horse, most of the time they're not starting out going, this is going to be a turf sprinter, right? You kind of get there. Initially, you're on the turf, you're going longer, or then you're sprinting on the dirt, and then you realize like, oh, you know what? This is what works well for them. And as you pointed out, I don't usually have like a template for races or because I like to try to look at every horse, every race differently. They're all individually. But one that I do sort of use down the hill are horses that were going long, maybe showing a little bit of tactical speed going long, and now they cut back down the hill. They always seem like they fit really well, like Ryan said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sets up well for those horses cutting back. We'll go ahead and move on. Gino, again, I'm going to have to ask for your top 3. I know you've got 3 of them, but I'm going to guess that you are 1-4-5.
I went 5-1-4. There we go. Yeah.
Love it.
So we were pretty close. Yep.
5
pretty close.
Gino, let me go ahead and get that in there and then up on the screen. Of course, this is the big one that we're talking about. Race 10, Santa Anita Derby, grade 1, 430 local, $500,000 purse, a mile and 1/8 on the main track for 3-year-olds. Smallest field of 5. And I believe because there's a field of 5, the points have been cut to 75%. So that means the winner gets 75 points. I was doing this math earlier, but it's not coming to me right now.
37 and a half. Right. And then
18.75
for third, I think.
I can't wait for one of those years where the 0.75 is actually
the decimal is the reason why they got in, right?
Yep.
Exactly.
Race 10, I'm going 2-1-4. Ryan's 2-1-5. Jackson is 2-1-5. And Gino is 5-1-4. Gino, Baeza.
Yep.
You got this horse on top. Barrios and Sheriffs, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, so I think if you're looking for value in this race, this is probably the horse, Baeza, who's the up-and-coming horse who project to sit off the pace. What makes it so difficult, though, when you're handicapping these smaller races, especially when you have a couple of the Bob Bafferts who project to be the speed is, are they going to battle each other? Are they most likely not? Which one is going to be the picked speed horse for this day? Which one is going to be the one that they want sitting off a little bit? I do feel like Bob has been a big fan of Barnes all along. So I think he's been kind of like adamantly trying to work with him. He's been trying to do some stuff in the mornings, blinkers on and blinkers off, the way he's been training him. I do think he his most recent work was much better. There were a couple that were not good, back to back for Barnes that really didn't look good. So I do think he's kind of the interesting like wild card of the race. Baez, I just kind of think I'm hoping sits off and he makes one late run, and so he needs the race to kind of fall apart, or at the mile and an eighth, I think that's where he may be able to kind of, get that might be the equalizer for him versus a horse like Barnes, maybe even a horse like Citizen Bull. Guys, I think journalism's the real deal. I think he's the horse to beat. I think he's legit, but I always get very nervous playing horses after their big win, right? Mm-hmm. Because I would have liked to play Journalism last time out. Is he going to come back and throw up another 108 Beyer speed figure or a 110, or does he have to regress a little bit? And even if he regresses, it's still good enough. But I don't know if playing Journalism on Saturday is necessarily the right time. I'd be fine playing him back again in the Derby. I just kind of think you might have got that really big effort from him last time out. And I do think in watching back the San Felipe, maybe it was just like Twitter and social media since, but I felt like Journalism beat Barnes by more, kind of handled him easier than he actually did. He went by him and it was never going to be like a tight finish or anything. But the way I remember and the way people kind of talked about Barnes after the race, he went from being like the horse to like completely dismissed and forgot about. So I guess different from you guys, I haven't really been as high on Citizen Bull as much from the beginning. So I wonder in this race, like if he has taken the step forward as a 3-year-old now, into the sphere with Journalism, and can he run those bigger speed figures? Was he one of the more precocious horses last time out? So I guess that'll be sort of my approach to the race. I'll probably be using the logicals, but probably not Citizen Bull in the multi-exotics. I'm not going to go 4 of the 5 and use the ABCDs, kind of pick and choose which ones you like. Baeza would be the one that I think offers a little bit of value, but I'm lined up against 3 fellas who like Citizen Bull. So tell me, guys, why am I wrong?
Well, we'll go to the guy just above you first. Ryan, you've got him on top, Citizen Bull. We've kind of talked about it at length, not necessarily on the show, but you've seen it on Twitter. We've had some discussions about it. Looks to most likely be on the lead. His last work was very good. The one that I can't remember which one I watched. It could have been the March 29th. Looks to be on the lead. Martin aboard. And you think he can get it done in this year's Santa Anita Derby?
I guess so. I honestly, I didn't know that you guys were also going to pick Citizen Bull, because I know we're all against this horse, certainly moving forward in the Derby, because this horse has done nothing but get an easy lead and just been able to walk around the track. But
he might again too, Ryan, right? That's the problem.
Exactly.
Right?
That's why I had to pick him on. I saw John Sheriff has 2 entries in here. Obviously, Baez is the kind of the higher thought of one. Westwood has some early speed, but I mean, unless there's real intention of, the whole rabbit thing, I don't think Westwood's going to run with Citizen Bull early. And none of the Bafferts are. Journalism isn't. So that leaves Citizen Bull and Martin Garcia, again, alone on the lead. And at the end of the day, I think that's about it. Journalism, really good horse. Last time effort came back huge. But I think in a similar way that we just saw Sovereignty run a nice race and only finish second, Journalism, he can't be cranked up for an A+ effort here. He clearly fired well. He came back really strong. So I had to take him underneath, while Citizen Bull, I think he's just kind of second start of his 3-year-old season here. He's going to walk around. He'll probably get like a 104 Beyer, and then he'll go into the Derby as the favorite, and then we can have a nice takeout reducer in there.
Hey, it sounds like you got a heckler in there, Ryan. The cat's
I know. My cat's going berserk. My bad.
Jackson, you got the same top 3 in the same order. I won't have you talk about anyone specific. I'll just ask for your thoughts on the race in general.
Yeah, this is a West Coast show, so I do feel the need to defend the Santa Anita Derby a little bit. A lot of hate for this race on Twitter and everything. There's 3 horses in this race that would be giant favorites in the other 2 races this weekend.
Yep.
So need to say that. And Baeza would probably be a major contender in those other races as well. So this is a very strong, it's definitely the strongest race of the weekend. I know maybe from a betting perspective, it's not the greatest, no doubt about that, but it is a very strong race in this spot. I'm with Ryan. I think Citizen Bull gets an easy lead and walks the dog. I don't think Journalism needs to win this race. He doesn't need to win this race. He just needs to run well, give a good account of himself, and get ready for the Derby. So I'm guessing Citizen Bull is going to be the one that's going to get that easy lead yet again. And, come Derby time, I don't want any B's of him. But on Saturday, I think he's the one you're going to want.
Yeah.
Got a comment in the chat from the boss, Howard Kravitz. He said the biggest question for him is who's going to the lead. Barnes needs more points than Citizen Bull. So does Bob. Just send Barnes and see if Citizen Bull can sit a little bit and like he might in the Derby. I'll throw that to Gino. What do you think?
Because intent, I love that Howard pointed that out. We have to handicap intent sometimes too, right? When you see a trainer put the blinkers on or put up a specific jockey sometimes, and it kind of signals that they're going to use more speed, or the opposite, taking the blinkers off, and then they put Mike Smith on, they're going to be taken back a little bit, right? We've seen that sometimes recently. That's a really good point. And I actually do think, like, in just reading the tea leaves with Bob, I do think Barnes is a horse. It's hard with him, like, because it's like his kids, right? Which one of his kids does he like better of these horses? But you could kind of tell sometimes through his quotes and comments which one that he either thinks is the best or wants to be the best. And I've always thought that he really does like Barnes, even as much as like shipping him to Churchill to win his debut as soon as he was able to run a race at Churchill, right? To be like, hey, I'm back here. Remember me? So Howard, I'm kind of handicapping it the race the way that Howard is. I'm thinking he puts Barnes on the front end to let Barnes try to do as much as he can in this race, get as much of a piece of it as possible. And that Citizen Bull is behind him. They run 1-2 around, probably not pressing each other, but it gives Barnes an opportunity because Barnes needs the points.
Yeah.
Whereas Citizen Bull, he could run second or third and be fine. So I do think it's a great point from Howard, and it's kind of what I was thinking of. That's an added part of handicapping these Kentucky Derby prep races. And I love how you guys, it's already natural in listening to you guys talk of, hey, you know what? I think this horse might win this race, but I'm not looking at him come Derby time, right? You have to be thinking of things in two different ways. Who's got to win this race, or who's fine with a decent second? And that could be both journalism and Citizen Bull. Like, they'd be fine running 2-3 in here, nothing bad happening, and then just a nice few weeks of training leading them into the Derby.
No, I think that's exactly right. The same thing kind of happened last week in the Florida Derby, where Cox was just kind of putting all his eggs in one basket with Tappan Street, not Tappan Street.
That switched quickly, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I like how that happens. I was Tappan Street for like months, and then it's like, okay, I guess I'm Tappan now for sure. Okay.
Yeah, so they had all their eggs in one basket to get those points and to get him in. While Mott, didn't have to have Sovereignty fully cranked, still ran a very good second. Seems like this might be the same scenario with journalism. Like, he just ran so big last time that it doesn't make a lot of sense for McCarthy to crank him up and try to get to that next time because he's already in. So it's going to be interesting to see. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the pace scenario, which Baffert ends up getting the lead this year. But I'm going 2-1-4. Ryan's 2-1-5, Jackson's 2-1-5, and Gino.
Did Barnes run the most disappointing 105 buyer
ever?
Right? Like, I mean, obviously before the number came out, Jackson dismissed him, but then we saw it come back, so he walked that back. But I also, I've been against him ever since he lost to a horse that's probably going to be the favorite or second, third choice in the Derby in journalism. But yeah, 105 buyer, and we're all just he could win, but it's not like.
I have him in a fantasy horse racing league, and I texted my buddy just like you guys, like right after the race. I was like, oh my God, that was awful. How disappointing. Like, I was like, he's not winning that race. He's not beating other horses. He got the lead. He got everything his own way. And then you see the number come back and you're like, oh wow, he earned one of the fastest speed figures of the whole crop. So he, to me, is just the most enigmatic and the most interesting of the horses to watch, like what we're going to get from him. Because honestly, if you told me they put him on the front end, he wins by 2, he got an easy lead, that wouldn't shock me. But if you told me he just did not fire and backed up and was like eased because it's been a little weird the last couple of weeks leading into it, that wouldn't shock me at all either.
So polarizing with the work and the pace scenario. Just too many difficult things to take into account for such a short field. But we'll move on to race 11. Race 11, I'll get up on the screen right now. Allowance optional claiming 50,000 versus 67,000. Another down the hill race, 6.5 on the turf. And then another big field, similarly to earlier in the sequence. Another big field of 12 and 2 AEs this time with 13 Shin Jedi and the 14 Needle Point. Gino, you've got 4 of them, so go ahead and give me an order of 3.
We'll go 9, 6, 10 in this one. And I will say, you and I were talking about this the last couple of days. Santa Anita did a good job in trying to put the best, most challenging races in the late pick 5.
Mhm.
And then they put the Santa Anita Derby in the middle of it, which is nice. You get the big race with the prestigious horses, even though it's not the best betting race. And then around it, you get some really good challenging betting races. I think that will make for a much better pick 5 sequence than if they put all of the stakes races that are a little bit shorter. So we've seen them kind of spread them out throughout the card. This is a really good race down the hill too. Race number 11. It's the first level allowance, optional 50s. I mean, you can go in a lot of directions. I've been chasing this horse, Andiamo Ragazza, for a little while. She's got a couple really sneaky trouble trips in there. If you look back on October the 12th, she actually ran down the hill. She was 4th, only beaten a couple lengths. It was a really good effort that day against Stakes Company, against Calbreds. And following that, she sprinted on the dirt, which is not what she wants to do. She came back again down the hill. And again, she was in some trouble. She was last of 9. She was 6 off. She was in between horses. She got stopped. She had no room. Once she got in the clear, she closed pretty well that day. It's kind of a sneaky good effort. I really like her down the hill. The problem is she's just not fast early. So she needs some help up front. Like, she's not going to be the type of horse who's carving out her own trip, but she fits pretty well with this group. I think she'll be a very fair price. She was 14-1 last time out in a similar spot behind horses who are going to come back in here. So, and looking at the way the race shapes up, I do think there's a decent amount of early speed in here, which would kind of get to the next horse, Thermal, who ran like a horse who needed the race last time out. Long layoff horse, right? Showed some speed, tired. It's exactly the type of race I would expect from a horse like Thermal. So I think I at least wanted to have those horses in the mix because I think Thermal will be involved throughout. I think we'll take a really nice step forward. And if she can get back to the maiden breaking score, that was a really good effort. And that stacks up really nicely with this group. Those to me were kind of fun price horses. And then I had thrown the 10 Nene Diamond, who's just kind of a logical horse coming off of a good effort last time out, as my third one.
I'm with you, and Jackson's got her on top as well. I think we could see a big effort from the 6th Thermal, second off of a long layoff, and should just be right on the lead with Raylu. The weird thing I couldn't figure out with Andiamo Ragazza was Peter Miller added the blinkers last time, but then she was still way out of it. So I don't know if she's gonna be way out of it again, or maybe be a little bit closer the second time that she's got it. Obviously, she had the Bug Boy last time. She gets Fracy, which is a big upgrade, but I didn't know kind of where she would be early on in this race.
That's the key, right? I don't think she wants to be. She's got a little tactical speed that she showed earlier in her career, but I do think she's best when you just kind of sit back and then make one late run with her. So if they can time it like that, she'll need things to kind of break perfectly for her. But I like playing horses like that for the way that I play the races. I like horses that maybe aren't as consistent and they've got their form kind of muddied up and you have to kind of pick through, make some excuses for them. Generally, those are the horses that are going to be nice prices. Actually, kind of complimenting what I was saying, Andiamo Ragazza's 4th in that California distaff, that's actually the best buyer speed figure on the grass that any horse has in this race.
Mm-hmm.
You just probably wouldn't think that this was the horse with the top figure, just looking overall, but I like that. I know if she shows up with her A game, it's about as good as what we've seen from anybody in this field. She just kind of needs the ideal circumstances.
No, that's exactly right. Jackson, you went away for a sec, but I was going to let you talk about what you like with the 6th Thermal. And then after that, we'll go to Ryan with the 5 Miss Roberts, but Jackson, you up first.
Yeah, well, just to build off what Gino was saying, I mean, Thermal's a filly that ran, as a 2-year-old, ran 278 buyers, time form was 98. Those numbers are pretty much what most of these horses are still running today as older horses. There's a couple outliers with the one he just mentioned, and then I think Not a Sinner has one that's kind of way up there. But the most consistently, they're right around this, the 80 figure mark, and she did it as a 2-year-old. And if she's improved at all from 2 to 4, which is, for most horses, it's a pretty safe assumption, and she should be, one of the big favorites in this spot. Obviously, it's something she didn't run great last time, but she showed her speed as she showed as a 2-year-old, and that was a race that completely collapsed. There was a 3-horse duel. They opened up. All 3 speed horses just completely faded. They finished back half the field. Don't want to be too harsh for that performance. She's also a horse that kind of raced herself into shape as a 2-year-old as well. So I think we'll see a step forward from her in this spot.
No, I like it. I think you're exactly right. Ryan, you've got the 5 Miss Roberts on top. 1 for 18, which is, a bit of a concern. She ran really well off the bench when she got switched to Mullins. Just maybe a little too tough for her last time, but she's one that's going to be coming with a late run. Oh, now Ryan's muted. Now we just need Jackson, and we'll complete the trifecta.
Yeah, my bad. My cat is still heckling me. So, last time out, I'm willing to draw a line through that effort. Ran behind Queen Maxima, who runs earlier on today's card. Queen Maxima is a monster on this turf course, whether it's down the hill or the flat 6 or whatever they got her doing. So I'm willing to, scratch through that. Obviously, that was kind of the horse that would be coming from off the pace for the Mullins barn is Miss Roberts. So Queen Maxima was up front, kind of dominated that. 2 back, going down the hill. Tied her best speed figure, coming from way off the pace. I think there's a good amount of pace in this race going down the hill. I think that Miss Roberts projects a very nice trip. Excuse me. Lost to Vengaza next out, who won next time out. I believe the 4th or 5th place finisher, Run a Mile in My Shoes, also by Jeff Mullins, came out to win. A bunch have come back. The buyer figures have held up pretty nicely. So I want to see Miss Roberts give one more chance down the hill, hopefully be a little bit closer. I love Hector Barrios sticking aboard here for the 3rd start off that layoff since the trainer switch coming over from Woodbine. I think down the hill fits this one really nicely. So I'm looking to get this one, hopefully at a bit of a price, but Hector anywhere. He's the best turf rider out here.
Yeah, Gino, I think I've caught a couple of the shows you guys do on Fridays when you cover the coast to coast. I believe that Venganza race was one of them.
Oh, yeah. You remember that one. We love Venganza. That was one where
Venganza was one that
12-1 on the morning line or something, and she got hammered and won. But she's just been in great form, and she found the hill, and that's absolutely right. I think she's facing Queen Maxima in that race earlier on the card, both of them who are really good turf sprinters. And Ryan, these are the exact types of horses that we were sort of talking about earlier where Miss Roberts has ability, right? She's 1 for 15 on the turf, but she's been in the money in 9 of those 15 starts. So it's not like she doesn't have talent. She's just got to figure out where's the perfect spot for her. Where's the perfect trip? She is the type of horse who it might be down the hill, that tricky in between distance where they're going down. So yeah, I think she fits really, really well. She's the type of horse with a trip who could absolutely come running late. That 2 starts back race would fit well with this group.
Yeah, and that day, she I don't know if it was just because she was off a little bit of a layoff, but she didn't break great, and she was kind of behind the 8 ball. She came from way out of it. She was way out of it. Hector was knifing through. I thought she was actually going to get up, and Venganza kind of got the jump and was best that day. So I'm going to use her. I think this is probably the most difficult race in the sequence. And then one more horse that I wanted to mention is actually the horse that I have on top. Not a sinner. I remember Jackson Ryan. I liked her a lot last time. Couldn't quite hold off Anjan Ash, but I thought was really good. She's 3rd off the bench now. Rispoli hops on for Simon Callahan, another deadly duo. Why I think you might get another decent price on her. She just doesn't really have a knack to find the winner's circle. 1 for 14, but similar to Miss Roberts, she's got 11 out of 14 in the money finishes. So I've got her as the tepid top pick in a wide open race. And then Jackson, I'll go to you with the final horse. Is this the 11? Is the 11 shocking?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to use her in my tickets. I really love the 5-6 here. I think I can lock it up with those 2. But she's just a little interesting. It's weird that DVD is on her from Florida. Why the heck is he here? And the race 2 back it was really good. I don't know where it came from. It kind of came out of nowhere. And then last time she regressed pretty significantly. First time for the Papamudramo barn. But obviously, if she runs back that effort 2 back, she'll be ultra top in this spot.
Yeah, and actually, Gino, I want to get your thoughts on Nene Diamond because I was a big fan of her. I think that was
opening day.
That was opening day.
In the winner's circle.
I was with these 3 watching the race, and she was on the lead, and she was really bad. I was very upset, but that was also the day that Copian won at 40-1, and I had her in the pick 5, so that made up for it.
It evened out.
But what are your thoughts on Nene Diamond?
Yeah, I think she's super logical. I had her in the mix as well. I think she was one of the 4 horses that I had when I put together a ticket. I mapped out a ticket when we were talking about it. That was like $108 with the single, and she was one of the 4 that I would be using in this race, definitely. So I think she fits really well.
Yeah, no, I think we've got that race pretty much covered. I'm going.
I was promised that you would be Nene in the winner's circle on opening day.
Oh, and the
one. If Nene Diamond can get the job done, can we get something at Keeneland maybe?
Well, it depends on if I end up using her. It'll have to be TBD. I don't know if I'm going to use her. I did say
so all over again. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
That's how you so all over.
It's not how you so all over again. Please don't remind me of that. We'll move on. I'm 8'6'5". Ryan's 5'10'8". Jackson 6'5'11", and Gino 9'6'10". Last race of the pick 5 is race 12, another allowance optional claiming 80,000. I thought this was a really nice, high quality race. 1 mile on the turf, another big field of 10. Morning line favoritism, again, could go a number of ways. Unfortunately, we don't have those with us. Gino, one last time, I'm going to have to get this from you. I got to go back to you've got 3 horses. So go ahead and just give me an order.
4, 2, 1 for me.
Perfect. So we'll go ahead and start it off with you as I get the picks up. I'm 914, Ryan's 635. Jackson's with you, Gino, with the 4. He's 492, and then you are 421, my friend. You're going with the Minnesota bred, Ion Rye, Victor Espinoza, and Ron Ellis.
Yeah, Ion Rye. Kind of what I was talking about with other horses. I like the horses with the high ceiling. I was pointing out Andiamo Ragazza. I think I said had the highest buyer. I think it was the second highest in that. But I like the horses who have the good ceilings that on their best day, they can jump up with a really good effort. And the race that Ion Rye ran back in 2024 at Del Mar was awesome. This horse ran a monster race. And honestly, when you start to pick through his form overall, in the 10 races that he's run, a lot of them make sense. He debuted out at Canterbury, and he's running at Canterbury to start. Then he's at Hawthorne. He comes over to Del Mar on July the 24th, and he got parked wide all the way around. He had absolutely no chance. If you look at the post he drew, and if you watch the race and the trip, he was just wide all the way around. He got completely dismissed off of that race, and nobody bet him in his next start back. And he ran a monster race and earned a 90+ buyer speed figure that day and was really good. He came back following that and, again, was pretty solid. I think going 1 1/8 might have been a little farther than where he's at his best. He was still 4th. He was only beaten a couple lengths that day. And then following that, he ran 2nd behind the very sharp El Patente. Last time out, he was inside. He was waiting. He was 4th. He was only 2 lengths off. He was down on the inside, and it looked like there was room. And I'm not sure if it was Victor's fault or maybe the horse didn't want to go into that tight spot. I don't think this horse likes the inside, like moving through tight spots there. Don't be shocked if you see them try to get this horse to the outside a little bit, even if he has more of a wide trip, because he did hesitate down there and he was right in the mix. So I think his last effort's a little bit better than it may look on paper. Jackson, you like him a little bit too. I just know 3rd start off the bench. Can he jump back up to that really good effort or close to the one last year? That would make him really tough in here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's a horse. I loved him last time. I thought he couldn't lose. I thought he was a lock in that spot. And watching the race live, I'm like, oh, this is the trip I want. He's tucked inside. He's going to sit that pocket. And then the rail opened up, and he just, like you said, he just didn't go through it. And I don't know if it just wasn't quite there. If he just, I don't know. It was kind of a weird trip. He just might be one of those horses that, like you said, likes to be outside and doesn't want to be. He doesn't want cover. He's the rare turf horse who doesn't enjoy cover because he's won from post 12 before. And the race 2 back at Santa Anita, he was so wide that day against El Patente, who came back and ran a hole in the wind against Stakes Company. So I think he's really good. I think this is the right rider you want for a horse that's going to be parked 3 wide and not too far from off the pace. And his best efforts put him right there. I'm just very curious to see how they bet him in this spot, because this race I had a really tough time just trying to come up with where the odds are going to fall in this spot.
And Gino, I think this is kind of the time where he might get a little, and obviously not as dismissed as he was at Del Mar, but I think he will get dismissed a little bit because there wasn't a real, I guess, quote unquote excuse last time.
There's no trouble in the running lines, right? It doesn't say traffic got stopped. If you watch the race like we did, Jackson, we're like, we could probably make an excuse for him, but there isn't that overwhelming reason why. I completely agree with you. This feels like the time that you'll be able to bet him. And I think that was the case for the horse who I had in second too, with Lamas, who is a former graded stakes winner. Lamas won the grade 3 San Francisco Mile about a year ago, and his best efforts are really good. And if you just look at some of the horses who he's been losing to, El Patente, who's really sharp, JB Strikes Back, who was there and was doing the nay in the winner's circle on opening day with all of you guys, Conclude, who was really, really sharp. So when you go through who he's been defeated by, you can probably be a little forgiving. And this is definite class relief for him. He's in for 80,000. That doesn't really bother me with an older horse like this. That's a lot of money to fork up if you want to claim this 8-year-old. But he fits with this group, no doubt about it. And he's a horse that he flies a little under the radar too, because he did most of his work over the last couple of years up in Northern California. So a lot of the Southern California bettors don't necessarily know that name as well, but he's a classy horse, Lamas.
Oh, I love betting Manny Padilla, but Golden Gate had another nice winners with him. But yeah, I don't think anyone's really going to fork up $80,000 to get an 8-year-old at this time. But he's got numbers on the page that fit. I completely agree with that. He's a 12-time winner, so he knows how to get it done. And you're going to get an honest price on him, Jackson. You've got him third, so obviously you agree. Let's hear from our boy Ryan. He's got the 6 Man Among Men, I believe. Richard Mandela, Kazushi Kimura, third off the bench. I believe we talked. Was this a race that we talked about? Oh, that's right, because I used to won on Bossoli. Third off the bench, he was making a weird change from 9 furlongs to 6 furlongs last time, but stretches out now. Ryan, what are your thoughts on this runner?
You're muted twice now. That's crazy.
Man, sorry guys, my cat's yelling at me. I'm not trying to be, have everybody get interrupted here. But my one goal for this race, or my one take on this race, is I'm fading the common race that so many of these runners are coming out of. I don't like any of the runners coming back out, so I want the 3 fresh faces. So top pick in here is the number 6 Man Among Men. This horse is best at a mile. This horse's best races have come going the flat mile. I don't know why we went a mile and an eighth last time, chasing a fast pace, but the time form was still okay. 6 furlongs is clearly not what this horse wants to do. And Frankie Dettori last up, he wasn't riding great out in Santa Anita. He did better out in Gulfstream. Now we get Kazushi Kimura, who loves to team up with Richard Mandela, and they have a lot of success when they do so. So this one gets to stretch out to his best distance, where 2 of his wins have come. What's up, Jackson?
When you're done.
Oh, okay. But yeah, he likes to be a little closer up to the pace here. So I'm projecting KK to have this one sitting, maybe in that second flight. Should sit a really nice trip from the 6 hole and should be able to get home here going the mile. Now, what's up, Jackson?
Yeah, so just for everyone knows, for the second week in a row, I won my head-to-head bet with both of these guys.
Nice.
And I think this horse has 0 chance in this race. So if you want to do a third week in a row, here we go. Okay.
I was gonna propose that the $1 side bet be that the winner comes from the race that he doesn't like.
Say it again?
I said I was going to propose that the side bet be that the winner comes from the common race that Ryan doesn't like.
What? So you get 8 horses and I get 3?
That was good. I like
That's
that.
terrible.
I agree. I got to heat up.
I got the dollar bet with Jackson, no doubt.
I like our head-to-head bets because
so we're Man Amongst Men
down the stretch. I can still cheer for something,
Yeah, Man Amongst Men versus Ion Rye.
Ion Rye.
Okay, cool. Okay,
Victor
so yeah,
Espinosa
exactly.
versus Kazushi Kimura. I like.
Even if I'm not alive in anything, I'm going to be watching this late in the race, and I'm going to be having something to root for here. So yeah, here we go.
It's interesting.
These guys,
I'm undefeated this year, so we got to keep the train running. Come on, here we go.
I was talking with these guys before the show, and they're like, Gino has no idea what he's getting into.
Oh, I know this well. This is me and my buddies sitting down. Yeah. Prodding each other and poking each other, and if you saw our group chat, you would think the same exact thing, right?
Oh, that's exactly right. We have an aptly named group chat with a little side joke that's Ryan, we'll throw it back to you with the 3 Covey British bred, third off of a long layoff for our good friend Michael McCarthy.
Yeah, another one that I don't know why this horse has been sprinting. They had this one at Tapeta. They had this one going 6.5 down the hill. This one's Frankel out of Great Britain mare. Again, this one wants to go a mile. This is where he's won one of his races. The other 2 came at 7 furlongs. But again, I just like this one on the stretch out. I like the fresh face in here. Umberto from this inside post is going to be nice and cozy. Horse is going to have to jump up a little bit on speed figures, but did improve in the second start off the bench since coming over from overseas. So third start off the layoff should get another step forward in improvement. I kind of like the work. I like the work pattern coming in. I watched the last work. Again, I don't have an eye for workout horses, but just based on what I saw, I liked it. So take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, Covey, I'm going to use for sure. High profile connections. They should get the job done here in the nightcap.
Rispoli stays. I think that's something you got to pay attention to. And he's been bet in his 2 races stateside. So maybe a better price here and another one that is going to be dismissed on the board. 2 more horses that I want to talk about. Jackson, I'll throw it back to you. With a 9 Cathal. I've got him on top. You've got him in second, so I'll let you touch on him. And then Gino, we'll go back to you, and then I'll let you talk about the 1, and then we'll go to best bets. But Jackson, take it away with the 9.
Yeah, I thought he ran well last time. That was a race where a couple long shots kind of just ran around the track 1-2, and he was the one that made the significant move from off the pace, and he did it from post 10. And so I want to give him some credit for that one. He's a horse that has been going in the right direction for his last 4 or 5 starts now. He continues to improve, and why can't he take another step forward? He's still just 4 years old. He's only run 11 times. He just makes a lot of sense in here as a horse coming, from off the base.
No, I agree with that. A lot of upside. Barrios, of course, Ryan hinted at it, the best turf rider in the colony. Gino, last horse that we'll talk about is the one Genius Jimmy. You've got him in third.
Yeah, I think he's pretty logical here, honestly. Like his body of work overall has been really good. And he ran a big race last time out off a layoff. He was off for 10 months, or 11 months. He hadn't raced from April all the way to March, showed back up, and he just got beat on the wire. And everything you would expect, a horse who showed a little bit of speed. He was fresh. He was a little faster early than they probably wanted to go, got a bit tired. Now he has that race under him. It's going to be a month coming off of that. So he has a fitness level. He's a 5-year-old now who's still pretty lightly raced overall. And he now, he's only raced 3 times since he had that year layoff previously, so he's probably a horse who with the racing can continue to really step forward and improve. My main concern would just be trip wise. He seems pretty one-dimensional. Like he doesn't really seem like he wants to sit. So I think he's probably got to go here early on. And if there is some other pressure to the outside, that might make it tough for him, but he should come back with another really big race and probably improve off of what he did last time.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, we saw the kind of day that McCarthy had on Big Cap Day. So I am 100% giving a long look to these McCarthy horses. We'll go ahead and move on to best bets, but in the finale, I'm going 9-1-4, Ryan 6-3-5, Jackson going 4-9-2, and Gino 4-2-1. Gino, of course, because you are the guest, we'll start with you. We've kind of hinted at this a little bit throughout the show, but you've got a pick 5 ticket for us. I'll read it off for the audio listeners. You're going 2, 4, 6, 7, 12, 13 with 10, with 1, 4, 5, with 6, 9, 10, 11, with 1, 2, 4. That's a $108 ticket. So go ahead and take us through that ticket.
Yep. So I'll be spreading out in the first leg, which is race number 8. Maybe a price horse or two that are interesting for you. The 4, Silver I Am, who's trying dirt for the first time, and the 6, Keaton Thunder, who I thought ran a little bit better than the running line might look in the debut at Los Alamitos. And those are two that are kind of fun. Maybe you want to throw in if you weren't looking at those horses initially. In the 9th race, that's where my single will come, the single of the 10, who I think will probably be the betting favorite, or if not one of the betting favorites, no doubt, Private Gem. Second start back off that long layoff. That was a really good effort. And now second start on the grass. So just lots of positives, and I think he's going to continue to move forward. In the 10th race, that is the Santa Anita Derby. I'll be using Journalism, Barnes, and Baeza. I'm hoping it's kind of the race that they're trying to give Barnes an opportunity to get into the Derby. I think Journalism's the best horse. He might be able to beat these horses no matter what. I do think Baeza is kind of the fun price horse if you want to include. We'll go 6, 9, 10, 11. The 6 Thermal, I think, is going to run a really big race, dictating things out front, second start back. The 9 Andiamo Ragazza was my fun price horse in there. 10 and 11, super logicals to the outside. And then 1, 2, and 4 to close things out. I will include Genius Jimmy because I think he ran really well last time out, and he could also build off of that effort. The 2 Lamas, we talked about the back class for that graded stakes winner. And then Ion Rye is a horse who I think is going to run a really big one. Let's see if they can kind of keep him to the outside now, third start off the bench. So we'll put it all together for $108 in that late pick 5 sequence. Lots of price opportunities around them. And because I love you guys, I'll even give you an additional one for the folks earlier on the card that want to build the bankroll. You can look at race number 6, the Evening Jewel. The number 4 in the air tonight will be a horse that I'm betting in there to win. See if I can get a little a bad bankroll pad for my late pick 5. So you got the pick 5 and then another one for you in race 6.
No, I love it. I'm interested in that horse too, as we had a little confusion to begin the show. I had these boys cover about 9 races. So just
now we're ready, right? Now we're done and ready for the weekend.
Got it all ready on a Tuesday night. We're ready for Saturday. No, it's fantastic. Good luck with your best bet. We'll go to Jackson. He's making things easy. He's going a straight double, starting to race 10. He's going a double 2-6. The 2 is Citizen Bowl, and the 6 is Thermal. So go ahead and talk about that, Jeff.
Yeah, I just, maybe this will change. Maybe I'll see the odds board on Saturday, and Barnes will be taking a lot more money than I think. But it just feels like Citizen Bull is going to be the one that's going to get the lead again. And I just think he's going to run around the track, and I'm going to treat him as my free square of the day. and try to get a little bit more value out of Thermo, who I think has a big shot, moving second off the bench and has a chance to be the best of speed. I think she's pretty good. I think there's always been expectations with that filly. And if she, gets back to that form she showed as a 2-year-old, I think she'll be ultra tough in there. So going to keep it simple, 2-6 daily double, and, hopefully we're right.
I like it. Saving his bankroll for Keeneland. I'm probably going to be doing the same thing. Good luck. Ryan, will bring yours up. You're going with a turf pick 3. You're going 4, 6, 10 with 5 with 3, 5, 6. Take it away.
Yeah. First leg is, I believe it's race number 10. Race number 9, excuse me. Yeah. The 4 we talked about, that's Uncle Chili for Mike Pipey. The 6 is Chrome Flash for Paula Capestra, who we didn't get a chance to talk about. But another one that's just a hard trying horse, runs speed figures that fit, and kind of that middle, should be kind of somewhere in the middle of the pack between the number 10 Private Gem and the number 4 Uncle Chili. So I'll use those 3 and move on to the next leg, where I'm going to single the number 5 Miss Roberts for Barrios and Mullins. Should be flying from pretty far off the pace, but I think this one loves going down the hill. So I want to give that one a chance, and I think I'll get a pretty fair price on that runner. And then the last race, again, I'm fading the common race that everybody's coming out of. So I'll go 3, 5, 6 with the 3 Covey, who I think fits going the mile. Red Cross Knight, the number 5, who's going to be a pace presence with Asael Espinosa aboard. Him and Sadler have teamed up and had some really nice success together. So I'll see if that one, can't get home at a nice price. And then number 6, Man Among Men, my top pick in there, who I think is going to really appreciate getting back to his favorite distance, going the flat mile.
Oh, I love it. Good luck with that, Ryan. With a similar bet, we got Keeneland going on pretty soon here. So I've got the turf pick 3 Fever. I think I gave it out as a best bet last week, if I remember correctly. But I'm going back with the same bet. I'm going 4, 7 with 5, 6, 8 with 4, 9. First leg, that's Uncle Chili, and then the Coroner Runner. I can't remember what the name of that horse is. And then the second leg, I'm going 5, 6, 8. That's Miss Roberts, Thermal. And not a Sinner, I believe. And then the last leg, I'm going with Gino's top pick, Ion Rye, and then my top pick as well, the 9 Cathal. So good luck to me. Everyone probably tuned out, but it's all right. I make the same joke every week. These guys are sick of it. I'll throw the final banner up. Gino, it's been a pleasure to have you. Where can we find you in terms of socials, and what do you got going on right now?
Yeah. I'm on Twitter. It's me, Gino B. Also the same over on Blue Sky, Instagram, G Buccola. But I actually do a lot of stuff from the DRF social media account. So you'll probably see me covering races, race previews. If you follow the DRF YouTube, we have a bunch of previews. I think between Aqueduct, Keeneland, and Santa Anita on Saturday, there are 15 stakes races just on Saturday. That doesn't even include opening day at Keeneland, which is Friday. That doesn't include the pick 6 carryover at Santa Anita, which is Friday. So there is a lot of stuff coming up this week. We've got all that for you on the DRF. So you guys can find me over there all the time, YouTube stuff. Hopefully a lot more trips now. I'm out in Southern California a lot of the times, out at the track. And guys, I had a blast talking with you 3. I will just say, I wish when I was younger, I had a couple buddies like you guys to talk a little bit more about the races. Cause a lot of times I was at home sitting on the balcony doing my handicapping, and my friends would come home from the bar after, they'd be all drunk and asking me, what are you watching on those replays and stuff? I'd have a few nights where I went out with them too, but a lot of the time I was kind of by myself doing the racing stuff. So when you have a few buddies that you can kind of talk to and go back and forth, it took me a lot later in life till I found those friends. So I'm jealous of you that you guys have that right now with each other. And anything you ever need, anytime, if I can help you out in any way, you let me know. I will be happy to do so.
I appreciate that, Gino. This guy right here had one of those nights in Vegas a couple weeks ago.
Nice. Those are awesome, right?
It was the best. Unfortunately, the guy above you didn't want to join in. He was kind of the babysitter of the night. So.
I did not. That's not true.
He just turned 21. He'll get into it.
Exactly. Yeah, you got plenty of those miles ahead, and one of those nights we'll all be together and have a crazy one too.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, these guys love to give me a hard time. But, appreciate you coming on. I know you got a busy schedule and you got a lot of stuff going on this week, but thank you for that, Ryan. I'll throw it to you to plug some shows that you got on the Gallop out this week.
Yeah, we got a bit of an unusual schedule because the guy above me has some other responsibilities. So obviously we need to get him on our show. So we got Get Buck tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time on a Wednesday. Jackson, myself, and our buddy Ben Kudla from Equibase will be joining us. We're going to go over opening day at Keeneland, the late pick 5 on Saturday at Keeneland. Obviously, weather is something to keep an eye on, so we'll kind of keep that in the fold. We'll give you our off the turf picks and everything like that. And then Thursday, myself, Kaylee Shapiro, Matthew DeSantis will be going on Big Hoof Energy, to go through Wood Memorial Day at Aqueduct. So a couple big shows lined up, should be fun. And we could have a live show bright and early Saturday morning for the Dubai World Cup, but stay tuned for that.
All right, we will stay tuned. Jackson, you are the one with the final thoughts, my friend. Anything you want to share with people?
Yeah, the Angels are about to be 4-1 and in first place. This is not going to last more than a couple more weeks, so I'm got to shout them out while I can. Love it.
That's fantastic. This has been episode 25 of Pacific Horseplayers, covering Santa Anita Derby Day with Jackson Muniz, Ryan Anderson, and our special guest, Gino Buccola. This has been your host, Noah Meagher. And, of course, check out all of our shows this week. And, of course, Gino, we like to end the show with this little shenanigans. But we like to salute and say PHP out.
PHP out.